Right.
Yeah.
That's dope. That's so dope. So, the cover of the book is your face. No train, no paint. If you had to put a subway card there instead, what would that have said that that this doesn't? You know.
You mean for the cover?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was always going to be this photo. It's a favorite photo of mine, a photographer that covered a lot of the downtown New York new wave scene. Her name was Marsha Resnick. She took this photo of me many years ago. And my daughter, I have an image, somebody made a piece of art using this image that I have in the house. And when the book was coming together, my daughter said, that should be the cover, Dad. And I was like, you know, I was thinking about that. And so that became the cover. And it's inspired by Blue Note. The Blue Note jazz label has done a couple of records. That's for those of you who don't know, for you young heads, but for you jazz heads, you'll recognize it. I think a John Coltrane, a Miles Davis. Anyway, it's a Blue Note thing, and it's a reference to the influence jazz had on me. My parents were into jazz. Max Roach was my godfather, and my parents were close to that scene, and that was, I guess, the beginning of me developing an awareness of, you know, jazz and what that meant, and looking at all those albums as a kid was a big thing for me.
Yeah. So
Boom.
You're connecting worlds that had no business talking to each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, is that the skill you were born with, or did, you know, Bronx teach you that, or the Bronx?
Oh, well, no. I'm actually from Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn.
Well, no,
it's okay.
no.
I spent a lot of time in the Bronx. But basically, I think what happened was I had ideas to be an artist, visual artist. And there was no space for a person coming from where I was coming from, having done graffiti. But I kind of was putting things together in my head that graffiti, as it developed into a form of making pictures, and the letters were getting bigger and bolder, and guys were really developing a way to use spray paint. I saw a connection between that and pop art, which I was like, this sounds, I mean, the imagery influenced by comics and advertising, which graffiti was looking at to make the names bigger, bolder, more colorful. And so I was, you know, I used to spend a lot of time as a kid going to museums in the city, and I just had these ideas. So to find somebody I could just share these ideas with, I got the idea to connect with people on the punk, new wave, underground scene in New York, because that was making a big impact at the time in the late 70s, and I thought, man, it was really challenging the system, challenging rock and roll, and it was shaking things up. It was really quite disruptive, and I thought, if I can connect with some of these people, they might be receptive to these ideas of graffiti as a form of art inspired by the pop, like pop art was, a similar, plus this new music, which was in its infancy of people rapping over the rhythm tracks. I thought this is all like a new rebel culture. And I then met people that got it, that I could share this with. And so that was what led me to connect with people in the new wave and the punk rock scene. And it was a good thing because they were very receptive, particularly people like in the group Blondie, Chris Stein, Debbie Harry, but I met people from the Talking Heads. I later met guys in The Clash, Johnny Lydon. So I tapped into a lot of key players as we began to make a little noise, and they were receptive to what we were doing. I kind of got in first and opened the door for other people from the graffiti scene to get in that mix, Futura, 2000, and other heads. And so I guess I kind of created a cultural exchange dialogue that led to a lot of things then happening, if you will. So that's the long answer to the backstory.
You know, I think about the different ways that, you know, I'm still like, all right, so there's the hip hop aspect, and then there's the underground arts and the pop art and all that good stuff, and I'm like, this guy kind of connected, you know.
Yeah, I did. I mean, I was just curious about a lot of stuff. I was reading, I was curious, and a lot of literature, books in the house, and I guess I'm totally a reflection of what I grew up around, because my dad and his friends were really hip,
Sure.
and they were really smart.
Sure.
They were cannabis enthusiasts, which was super duper underground, like it still is in many places, but thankfully it's getting legalized. And they were up on everything going on in the world, African countries getting liberated from colonial domination, and bebop jazz, what my dad loved was the cutting edge music. And they were young black men that were like up on what was going on, but they were looking for change, and I guess that got into my DNA, so to speak, and inspired me to make moves and to do things. I didn't realize how much of an influence it was until a lot later, like, you know, but it clearly was.
Well, it showed in the way that you kind of did your art with some of the music videos you did. Like you were talking about some of the conscious and social things going on in like Africa, like apartheid. You know what I mean? Like, you know what you did with Ladies First, and it's crazy. It was like it was brilliant. Like when I look back now, like as a kid watching it, I'm like, oh, this is cool. But then when I look back, I'm like, oh, he was messaging.
He was messaging, man. I'm so glad you caught that, because that was a triumph for me, along with making art. Making film was also something I wanted to do, wanted to figure out. So when I got to direct music videos, and here's this young woman, strong sister, Queen Latifah, that had a reggae flavor, being I was into reggae, I'm like, wait a minute, honey could rap, but honey got this little reggae thing going on. And so I said, yo, what's up? And so luckily I was instrumental in her getting signed to Tommy Boy. And then they blessed me with letting me direct her first 2 videos. And so crazy. The idea for how I positioned her was like, if Haile Selassie had a daughter, put it like that, you know. And then South Africa was still under apartheid, which I was pissed about. And I was like, I just got the idea this is in the Ladies First video. The first one I did was Dance For Me, which just had some of the dopest New York hip hop dances going crazy. But for Ladies First, it was an opportunity to like make her as this, once again, daughter of Haile Selassie, but one of the generals of the anti-apartheid movement, if you will.
Absolutely.
She's a strong black woman. And
moving the pieces on the board, like she's like, you know, like,
like on the war room and shit, like bang. It was so great. But the key thing for that, I just want to share, this cat passed away. He used to work for Nightline on ABC. They did one of the first national news pieces on hip hop, which I was a part of. And his name was Danny Schechter. And Danny had a TV show that would come on PBS called South Africa Now. It was a weekly show that would showcase the struggle against apartheid. And this is pre-internet. So watching, if people were aware of it, but watching his show, he had footage of the stuff going on in the street, people fighting with the apartheid regime, you know, the white South Africans and the black anti-apartheid people. So I go to him and get footage. So some of the clips you see of people in the street, I got from Danny, which was a dream. And it turned out to be a good video. So I was really pleased and happy. The song, women, of course, you know, Ladies First. So that worked out good.
And they were all incredible rap. I mean, you had an all-star cast of incredible, you know, artists on that. And again, with the footage, it's like, you know, to the point, you know, we here in America got a very sanitized version of what apartheid really was. We didn't see none of the footage on the news like we saw in your video. And, you know,
I'm trying to remember early on, when I got the opportunity to host your MTV Raps, there was a video that, Stetsasonic, AFRICA.
Oh yeah, Angola, Samoa, Zimbabwe,
very good.
Mozambique, Botswana, let us speak about the motherland. Yes, that was my joint. That was
so that was popping at that time. And we aired that kind of stuff because there wasn't a whole lot of videos when your MTV Rap started, but that had that resonated with me. There was another big one that I'm sure you'll remember with a bunch of mainstream pop artists and black artists together. I think Bruce Springsteen. It was basically a big posse type song against
apartheid.
Sun City.
Oh wow!
There was this place called Sun City there, a nightclub that would pay people a lot of money, and they were like, the song was "Don't Play Sun City." And anyway, so those things were resonating, and at that point in time, which was sort of in terms of hip hop, like the beginning of the conscious movement, where artists were saying stuff like that, which was so dope at that period, that just resonated with me. And so Latifah had that conscious vibe, strong black woman, so that was able to, you know, put the anti-apartheid struggle in that clip.
Right under their nose. I know somebody came to you and was like, wait, what are you doing? Like,
no, they were cool. Really? At that time, MTV, there was a great thing about Your MTV Raps is we pretty much ran that. MTV wasn't messing with black music, as you know.
I don't think they thought people would want to watch or tune in.
No. What happened was immediately when they aired the show, the ratings went through the roof. They thought the Nielsen rating system had been broken.
Wow.
They couldn't believe like the numbers they got. And they
power of hip hop, y'all. Just understand. He's there at the beginning. The power.
It was crazy, and it was, you know, people wanted their MTV for real. And they pretty much let us go with it because it was getting good numbers. I mean, look, it's a business, and the big numbers meant advertisers had to pay to have their products on their show. Problems came a little later down the line with all that, when they got hip to like brands like FUBU coming out and every other rapper wearing the FUBU brand, and then brands like Gap that are paying the advertiser like, wait a minute. We're spending hundreds of dollars, and these guys are wearing Gap and they're wearing FUBU and other brands, cross colors. So then they decided to start blurring, and that created.
I never knew why they would do that in the crisscross video. I said, why are they blurring it out?
By that point, they had to start. That became a problem because you got advertisers like, look, I'm spending tens of hundreds of thousands, whatever, and these guys are all running around with this, that, and other on. So then it was like that. And the problem, the real core of the problem was that the labels. It was on them to go back in and edit out, put the blur up. And then other channels were starting to do their versions of rap shows. BET, which wasn't trying to do that in the beginning, then they have their rap show, and then there's Pump It Up, and they weren't under pressure to blur. So then we started getting the videos late as opposed to having the videos in the beginning. So that became a bit of an issue.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a business out there. It's called show business for a reason.
It's called show, but dude, you've heard it here. Like, that's an inside thing, and like the whole blur.
Part of the problems that came up, like, what do you mean, you know?
They could have easily just went to the artist and were like, here's our stuff, use it, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like the big names, but I guess they didn't see it.
So like I said, in the beginning, it was good. We had a good couple of years where anything went, and it had an incredible impact, happily, for a lot of artists. And but then it was like, hey, you gotta cut that. Oh, we can't show that. Cut that out. It got a little sensitive, and which increased, so to speak, because then they were under other pressures about artists and their lyrics, and it was just too strong, as Public Enemy perfectly said. Literally, in terms of the impact on the culture, people were like, yo, you know, and it was like, wait a minute, you got Andrew Dice Clay and other people saying stuff just as crazy. They're not being attacked the same way. So those were things that became issues. MTV stood up for people's right to free speech. Luke and it was attacked, and different things went down.
NWA and all that.
So those were things that we were right in the middle of at that time. Interesting battles that were fought. You know, in my book, I don't go too deep into this. I kind of wrap it up as Your MTV Raps begins, because the book's about 320 something pages. If I would have went deeper into the 90s, I didn't want a 600-700 page book. Unfortunately, people don't read as much as they should, if you will, or used to. So I didn't want to make it like, oh man, I got like 300 pages to go after reading 300. So hopefully if this does well, part two may likely be more stories like this. doing Yo.
You heard it here first.
Right,
We're gonna hold you to it, boss man.
No, I'd love to. Like I said, there's some good stories.
Great stories.
I'd love to share, but I wanted to get my foundation story and what motivated me to get all this moving, become a visual artist, and explore other interests that I have, like making film, which I got to do. Those things were initially I get deep into that, and connecting with people like Jean-Michel Basquiat and Keith Haring. We were all like hit the scene at the same time, became close friends, all with like a similar mission, so to speak, like pushing through and disrupting to the fullest, baby. So that was totally what we were trying to do, and figuring out a way to navigate spaces that really weren't open for us at all.
Not at all.
Especially, people with this dark colored skin. How crazy is that, right?
Yeah.
You believe it just because you look a little different?
Yeah.
But that's what we had to deal with.
Why is this the #1 radio show on MTV where there's a whole bunch of white people making a bunch of music videos, and this little half hour is where everybody's checking in on?
Yeah.
Did it hit you at that point like, oh, this hip hop thing might have some legs? Or
I guess what I realized was going to happen, knowing that it was a nationally broadcast show, was I needed to see what was going on in other places. It wasn't just going to be about New York and what I grew up with. So I'd heard a little bit about, Luke, speaking of Luke, the first time we traveled with MTV Raps was to Miami to interview. At the time, he was Luke Skywalker and the 2 Live Crew. That was completely foreign to me. But once I got to Florida and seen the fun around that music, because I'm into lyrics and wordplay.
Of course.
But when I got to see the dancing, everybody with a smile on their face doing the dances, I go, oh, I get it. This is like a fun party kind of music.
Sure.
And that was their thing. That was part of their culture. And then getting to show people where they're from, and who the artists are, and talk to them became a big thrill. And then to go to other parts of the country, to go to the Fifth Ward in Houston and to the Ghetto Boys when their record Mind Playing Tricks on Me broke, or in Compton introducing NWA and meeting them and hanging out with them, introducing them to the rest of the country. Those things were super special to me because I'm just as curious as like, hey, what the hell y'all rapping? Who inspired you? And getting all that and introducing these people, Tupac, Snoop, so many artists that define different genres of rap and hip hop. It was a blessing to get to stand next to them and introduce them to the country.
Right.
So that was a lot of fun, and it helped grow stuff in a way.
To help grow. He's being modest. To help grow stuff. That's
to be
I know what you mean.
Humbly, because honestly, like radio. When the thing that's fascinating about when this bold move that MTV took, when BET wasn't trying to mess with it, Black Entertainment Television, they were like, we're not trying to deal with that ghetto shit. It was some slick R&B. I got it. It was a cultural thing. It was shocking. Like when you say disruptive, it literally was that. Like we're not trying to showcase that.
Right.
And so the sales and the force of the culture forced their hand because they were getting beat out by MTV with a show that was getting eyeballs. So BET jumped on it and all that kind of stuff.
Rhapsody with Chris.
So it was pretty amazing to be in the middle of those things as they were transpiring at that time. And coming here to Philly to interview not just Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, Will Smith, but 3 Times Dope. Somebody sent a clip recently of a show I did when I came here, and I'm running around sampling the cheesesteaks while meeting different rappers. So EST from 3 Times Dope pulls up, who I was a huge fan of.
Nice.
Jazzy Jeff pulls up. Some other Philly rappers that we loved in New York. Those cats, I like to sometimes think of Philly as the 6th borough of New York City because it's so close. I used to come here when the big rap tours would be going on in the 80s. It would be wild in Madison Square Garden. Like all the wildest kids would come out trying to, do crazy stuff, and it would be hard to sometimes see the shows and like watch your back from all the craziness going on.
Sure.
And to come to this, used to be the Spectrum, is what it was called in Philly.
I'd
be like, yo, I take the train out here, and the crowd was much cooler. You know, I could enjoy the show a bit more.
Right.
So I would come out here for several of the big, you know, hip hop tours, Run DMC, Beastie Boys, Public Enemy, all them guys when they came on tour. I'd come to Philly several times to hang out and see them here. So Philly's always been a favorite. And then even with the early graffiti scene, they had a legendary graffiti writers with a super unique style, but one in particular, Cornbread, was like a rock star. And we heard about him because he would come up and tag in the city a little bit. And so those were, Philly just was always up on everything at the same time we was doing it. So good connection with this town. So.
Hey, thank you for the props. Like I can't,
it's facts of the matter.
I can't say enough to hear a legend like you talk about the city of Philly that way. It's pretty important, and you know we feel that way too. There's a lot of history in Philadelphia about, like, I always make the claim, you know, the greatest lyricist alive, Jay-Z, came to Philly to fill his roster up to get some of the craziest lyricists.
That's right. Good
came
point.
to Philadelphia
Good
to
point.
fill his roster out, and the rest is history. So I appreciate that.
Those cats spit fire. Whoa,
what?
Real.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of dope Philly rappers. Now that you talk about
the whole thing, you know.
Cassidy, a bunch of them cats.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Freeway. Ooh, goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Pause for days. Man. That was a hot moment. That's so true.
Yeah, that was an interesting time period. So, moving on, you know, the algorithm doesn't know the difference between something that matters and something that just performs. You are a human filter with actual taste and actual stakes. Who's doing that job now?
Well, it's a whole different time now. When you say the algorithm, it's interesting because that dominates so much of how we access content. It's a wild time right now. I've always been very tech forward, up on technology, always loved that. But this is a very particular interesting period where significant revolutionary technological things are going down now. We're just getting our hands around it, and then the next versions are even more powerful than the other ones that we barely got to use. All these various types of AI and agentic, it's a lot to really understand, and not until we really get our arms around it can we figure out fly ways to rock with it, to disrupt it, to turn it around, to turn it inside out. You got to really get it first to be able to make it do what you want it to do, or to change or to break the rules a little something and bring some other things out of it. But yeah, it's a crazy time. I mean, everything is upside down, and I'm constantly just amazed at how much change is underway right now. So it's tricky to be on top of it and, you know, figure out how to function within it. The dust is far from settled.
The dust is far from settled. It's still, you know, for some of us, it's been around a little bit. For those of us, we just woke up to the news this morning.
So true.
And a lot of the creatives, you know, I looked at what Disney did a week ago, and in the music industry, the creatives were like, is this going to replace us? And I'm like, how?
Well, I understand that fear. Once again, that's when you don't really understand how to use these things. And once you get a handle on it, you could do your own thing, but then there's so many others doing this. Like, how do you cut through is the next thing. Is tricky. You got to figure this out. Like, you know, once you figure out how to make your music and upload it, or your video, or your podcast, whatever it is, or your micro drama, and then it's like, but okay, you like made it, you know, use your iPhones and your phones to shoot and do all this cool stuff. But then how do you get people to come and check it? Is the next hurdle, and is the algorithm going to embrace you, if you will? Is
the algorithm going to embrace you? And I would say it's safe to say it's the barrier to enter into that. Hey, I'm distributing and publishing my craft is a lot different in 2026, and like there's a lot more noise today.
Boy.
There's
a lot more noise. And a lot more, it was a great term, AI slop.
AI slop
is now everywhere. So it's like being able to weed through.
Sure.
Oh, that's it. But then people learn pretty quick. People are on these things, these devices, and then they're beginning to get, oh, this got to be AI.
Sure.
But they're constantly working, so you really don't know it's AI as quickly as you know. That's definitely AI. Can't you tell? They're doing something that's impossible. It just looks too clean, too pretty, too this. So they're obviously aware of that, and they're working to make it less detectable, which is interesting. So it's a crazy time right now. This is wild.
Yeah.
In a way, for me, it reminds me a little bit of when sampling came into play just around the time your MTV Raps begins in the fall of '88. The idea of these samplers or sampling becomes a big part of how hip hop music is made. Back to some of the videos I directed, one for a group, Stetsasonic, that we mentioned earlier, a song called Talking All That Jazz, which I got to, similar to what I did with Latifah's Ladies First, incorporate the anti-apartheid struggle in the video. This is a song about sampling, particularly an artist, rest in peace, M2May, had made a comment against sampling. And I don't know if he mentioned Stetsasonic, but Daddy O, the lead rapper from Stetsasonic,
he felt some kind of way.
He felt some kind of way. And so the lyrics in the song are really addressing M2May without calling him out. But they're talking about sampling is a tool. It's a way that they use it as a tool, essentially. The song was dope, but I combined the hip hop element and the jazz element because the hook is, you're talking all that jazz. So I was like, oh wow, that's a cool opportunity to mix some jazz stuff, some like a bebop jazz aesthetic in there. But the funny part is, there were no samplers effectively out specifically to do sampling. The Akai, I don't know the number, the Akai 9,000, 4,000, whatever, became the first sampling device. There were other ways people would use sample. There were more complicated ways. But I had my art department create like something that looked like a personal computer. It was a TV. We got like a keyboard and the word sample, which was recorded on video, came up on the scene. So it's always a fun thing for me when I see the video for that 1 second to illustrate a sampling device. We had to create one that give you the vibe. Even when the Akai came out, you wouldn't have known, it wouldn't have had the same visual effect because it was a bunch of, anyway, it's a whole different...
Yeah, they started off with it was really keyboards. It was like the ASRs and the D50s and the actual machine in of itself came by a little bit later. That's funny, you had to emulate one that did exactly...
Sampling, he's talking about it, what does it look like? So I had to huddle with my art department and say, maybe if we make like something that looks like, because the PC was not a thing yet, but we knew there were computers out there, but not on that level. But anyway, I made it all happen. That's one of the things that makes, when I see the video, I'm super proud of it, because it all came together in a good way that illustrated the point. But the whole point of me bringing that up was, people attack sampling in a really harsh way. But like Daddy-O said, it's a tool. And then as hip hop music making developed, guys got masterful in using it in an extremely creative way.
It became an extension, like an instrument extension. It became like a form of instrumentation.
That's a great way to describe it. It's exactly that. And to see it develop into something that became, and then the ability to sample just became a way that modern music is made across the broad spectrum. Now,
across genres, all genres are using it now.
And so now with AI and AI music, it's crazy, and people are reacting really harshly. Now it's so advanced. You can just give a voice prompt. Give me a song that sounds like this, that feels like that, and boom, and it literally will spit out that whole song in minutes, if not less. So it's kind of crazy. But they're gonna have to put some guardrails up to navigate that, so we at least know the difference, and we can go, okay, that's AI. I love how my man is doing his AI music, but at least we should know it's AI as opposed to somebody that's like plays the instruments. But we're at that point right now where these things are developing extremely rapidly. Most of the public is not hip to this. It's too much to absorb.
Too much.
You know, so it's a fascinating dynamic. And in the end of my book, I touch on some of what's rushing at us, and that we have to be aware and not get too dominated by the algorithms that are controlling a lot of how people see and how they think and their perception on different issues. Because when it sees that you're leaning this way, then it's going to send you more of that.
Right.
And if you lean in that way, it's going to bombard you with more of that, and which completely, and the way it affects our body chemistry, releasing endorphins and the satisfaction, like, oh, I got a like, oh, people responded. It makes
the dopamine hits.
The dopamine
the
hits.
Feedback loops.
Thank you. Yeah. All of that is really, really real, and it's not easy to understand these things and to push back, pump the brakes.
Yeah.
So I give a little warning as I wrap my book up about these things, you know, which is something. But I guess once again, the other interesting thing in writing the book, it made me realize this in a very loud way, how much things have changed. Like from holding an album in your hand and putting it on a turntable and playing it and looking at the cover.
Yeah.
Then it became a CD. Yeah. Still, you had this thing in your hand. I'm a guy, I want to know, like, the record is banging. I want to see who's the engineer, whatever. Mm-hmm. Now that CD is gone. All of those devices are gone. The cassette, the album, the vinyl. All the vinyl's making a little comeback.
The tactile part of it is gone.
It's crazy for me. It's still shocking. So to be able to hold a book in your hand and turn these pages is special. Yeah. However, I also did extra special work realizing how many people now are really deep into audiobooks.
Oh yeah.
So the audiobook, I added a little music here and there, some sound effects. I put a lot of passion into reading it. And then I did additional interviews with several people that are really key to my story.
Sure.
Like Grandmaster Flash, like Chris and Debbie from Blondie, who I'm still close with, and other people close to things I did. Charlie Ahern, who I made hip-hop's first movie, Wildstyle, with. Right. I did additional conversations with them. So for heads that are really into it, and you get the audiobook, when you finish, you can dive into these interviews of just similar like how we're doing right now, just chopping it up with friends, giving more insight about things we did and how we did it and stuff like that. Because the audiobook is a big deal now. It's crazy.
Yeah. And to your point, it's a little bit of a different thing now. It's like I can't listen to anything there. So even though, you know, I can get the book, but it's like, no, I want to get the audio because I want the banter. I want the inside parts that don't make it to the book. And I'm sitting here thinking, oh yeah, that's the next move right there. It's the audio book.
As I'm telling people about it, and then the response I'm getting, the feedback I'm getting on my socials, yo, I got the audio. People have read the book because you don't get the photos in the audio book, although some people are reading it on Kindle. But it's a 16-page photo insert. I did a lot of work finding rare, never published photos of myself, with Jean-Michel, with Keith Haring, different heads that I rock with. I got photographers that go into their crates and be like, oh, here's some stuff that...
It's the Campbell Soup in there.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. Campbell Soup train is in there, and other shots of that, yeah. Henry Chalfant is the great graffiti documentarian. He's actually from Pennsylvania, from Pittsburgh actually, who was a sculptor in Soho who just connected with the graffiti, which was really going on aggressively at this time in the early 80s, and he just started to go out and document the trains and then met a lot of the graffiti artists and became cool with them. So when you guys would finish painting a train, they would hit Henry up right away to let him know, yo, I just put up a new piece on the such and such, on the number 2, the Lexington Avenue line, so you could catch it quick, because you never knew when a train was going to go through the buff, which is where they would wash the train, chemically wash the train off. Right. So the most important collection of, if you will, of graffiti train images from that time is Henry Chalfant. and this other woman, Martha Cooper, she went out, Henry style, he would shoot the trains with an auto wand, so the train would go by like ba 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 ba, and then connect the photo so you see the whole train like that.
Gotcha.
Martha Cooper would go in different places to have the background of the Bronx with the train giving a burst of color, and this is when the Bronx had been pretty much devastated and was like dilapidated buildings, whatever. But
On fire, in fact.
Exactly. A lot of it had been burned. So after the burn, you got a shell of a building standing there. But this big burst of color on the train. So Martha's photos are like that, and Henry. So that's the first book of this stuff. It's called Subway Art. That then becomes an international thing that teaches other people how to do graffiti and learn these techniques around the world, which is mind-blowing how big. I mean, the aspects of the culture have really went global, but that is one of the remarkable ways to meet these guys. And they say, man, I had a copy of this book, and I learned and I studied it, and I was like, what? So it's pretty fascinating to get into this stuff.
Yeah, man. And to be respectful, I have one last question, and then I want to let you go. I got so much to say, but I will go ahead.
It's okay.
Hip hop is taught at Harvard now.
Yeah.
You built this to escape the system. Now the system owns a piece of it. What do you make of that?
Well, it's funny you say that. I mean, I'm aware of the fact that in almost every major university in America, there's some type of course, if not courses, on hip hop. I did a talk at Johns Hopkins in DC 2 weeks ago, and they have an accredited hip hop degree program where you could learn, play, and get a degree, which is mind-boggling.
Sure.
That's a good thing. If the teachers are right and they give it to you the right way. I know as a visual artist, artists used to say as well, it's a good thing that you didn't go to art school because you have these failed artists as teachers who sometimes force you into working this way, that way, the other, which I'm sure is a part of the situation, not entirely. But with hip hop, I know that there's a Nas fellowship program named after Nas, who is a dear friend. I directed one of Nas's first videos for the song One Love, and the Nas fellowship. Under the African Studies department headed up by Henry Louis Gates, Skip Gates, is incredible. Like that, a revered institution is giving love and teaching about this culture and helping people take it to the next level with real, academic skills. It's incredible, mind-boggling. So, in writing my book, I was aware of that. And I'm thinking this is going to definitely be required reading.
Yes, it is.
In many hip hop programs.
Yes,
I definitely
it
hope,
is.
because it's like the stuff I get into that I break down is like, it's some stuff that's really never been put out there like that. In a way, because that's why I was waiting to get into what leads to hip hop's first film, Wildstyle, and the role I played in making that happen and helping to shape the hip hop culture as we know it. Just because it was a raw, wild thing at the time, but it was still super raw and underground. And I'm trying to frame it up when we were completing the film Wildstyle. Like, my main comparisons are what happened on the new wave of the punk rock scene. I'm seeing all the coverage they were getting in England and here in the popular cities. So I was like, yo, we gotta frame this up similar. Like, look how much love they getting. And so we were able to put the right pieces in place to help make that happen. And the way it's resonated 50 years later, for the most part, roughly, is still mind-blowing. That I couldn't see that these things would be this important for this long.
Sure.
But it shows, I think a part of it is the fact that a lot of key players have been able to state how it goes down and to have a controlling interest and a say-so in the narrative. when in previous eras we was making incredible music forever. In the time of making music and records being made, that's not that long a period relatively, but we didn't have, because of racism and the way things went down, we didn't have the ability to control and say, this is how it has to be.
Sure.
And because we said it, you know, we was just making the music, and then other cats would step in and tell the stories. And some of this stuff I picked up from my dad and his friends, some of their frustration of being young black men, not able to, let's say, do what y'all doing. We're gonna put our own podcast, video, TV show together and do it just like we want to do it and share it with the world. That didn't exist back then.
Sure.
I mean, things were mad segregated. So we had the black newspaper in the black part of town, maybe the black radio station coming on late at night.
Right.
You know, we didn't have the access to do it the way we wanted to do it. And then that was what motivated me to step up and do a lot of things I did. Because I was like, no, I'm gonna control this shit. I'm gonna keep this in my hands.
Sure.
And other artists, producer types, executive types that learn want to do that as well. You know, and there's great examples of those that have done that. Some screw it up here and there, you know, so I don't have to get into mentioning no names.
Give us a name, give us a name! No.
You know, but there's heads out there that have made incredible music,
Sure.
that have parlayed into significant business interests, other aspects, and that's important that we do those things, because previous generations of us were not able to.
Right.
Sam Cooke wanted to make those kind of moves and talk. You see the documentaries on Netflix on Sam Cooke,
Sure.
the man that invented modern soul music.
Right.
People bring up like, is that why they killed him? And he was talking to Malcolm X. He was talking to Muhammad Ali about putting these labels together.
Sure.
A few of us was able to set it off. Barry Gordy did a hell of a job, but there were other situations where we got started and they shut us down.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah. Philadelphia International Records, Philly Soul is another.
Yo.
Think about that.
Yeah.
It's an interesting perspective when you think about how far we've come with the culture. You know, there's the music of it, but then the entirety of the culture, like with Wildstyle, like the tenets of hip hop, which is basically, DJing, MCing, b-boying, graffiti, and I make up this other part of it no one talks about, which you were a major. I used to come to what kind of hat is he gonna wear today? What is his outfit? Fashion, the fashion of hip hop. Like, you were the most fashionable dude on TV, dude. Like, it was like, what is he got the zip up, the leather bomber joint on? With the, you know what I'm saying? It's like, and the signature glasses, man. And like, I think about today, you fast forward, breakdancing is probably way bigger now than it was then.
Oh, clearly. In fact, when we did Wildstyle, breakdancing has started to wane a bit. But my idea was to showcase all these things and put them under one umbrella, because that hadn't happened yet. And that's what Wildstyle did.
Sure.
And that rejuvenated breakdancing as more people saw it. Like, oh my God.
Sure.
And then we were in pre-production on Wildstyle when Flashdance featured them in what became a big Hollywood movie.
Sure.
And then people went crazy. Like, what were those kids doing? What is that?
Right.
So we were like, wow. I'm so glad I found this. And speaking about just us having control, there's an amazing story I know you would like on a man named Harry Pace.
Okay.
This podcast dropped a couple of years ago. I lost my mind hearing this guy's story.
Okay.
So this is a black man in the teens, if you will, that starts the first black record label called Black Swan Records.
Wow.
This is Ethel Waters. This is the beginning. Jazz is kind of just becoming jazz, and the idea of buying a record, the recorded music, is just beginning to happen. This stuff hasn't been around that long.
Right.
And this man, Harry Pace, starts this label. It's the first black-owned label.
Wow.
When I tell you this story is incredible,
I'll check it out.
he builds this label which becomes a big, big, impactful deal. And then the other labels come for him. They come for him in a very aggressive way. This is America now. It's some real cutthroat shit. They chop him down. They snatch the artists. They do all this shit to them. It's devastating. And then he goes to Chicago and does a whole other business that shakes up the game again. And this story had me like, I can't believe. It's also some ill racial connected stuff to the story of Harry Pace. I can't say and give it all up.
This is America, right? So we understand. So
yes,
this is America.
Totally America.
Yeah. So
Harry Pace and the rise and fall of Black Swan Records is the podcast. It's about 6 episodes that goes deep into the other stuff he did.
Sure.
Which was fascinating. It was an incredible lesson because I grew up in a jazz household, so I was kind of familiar. But his story was not told, but also for a very interesting reason that you get into when you listen to the podcast. The very first episode, you'll know, wait a minute, huh? How the story starts. It's crazy.
I'm always thinking Motown. I'm like, Motown, isn't that the first?
No. That's what blows my mind about what this man did. Started the first major black-owned record label in the U.S., but his achievements went mostly unnoticed until recently when his descendants uncovered his secret history.
Wow.
And that's kind of how the episode starts off. But in terms of just knowing his story, mind blown, head like shat, like I can't believe I didn't know this guy's story. I've seen the image of Black Swan Records just in looking at jazz books. You see the label, but his story is just so American. It's kind of effed up what happens and why it happens, but then you'll kind of get it. But it just made me think of like what we've been through. Like he got to a point where he was able to have a label, control it, build up artists that became the first artists to have that kind of impact.
Wow.
I was sending this shit to everybody. Yo, did you ever, all my friends in record business and what have you, because it's like, I mean, give me a break. Like,
right.
But then it's a very specific reason why his story and the impact he had has been downplayed. Very interesting stuff.
I think I know where you're going with it.
No, it's real.
I get it.
It's real interesting stuff.
Sure.
But it just connects to this whole thing, I guess, that motivated me was to, I guess underneath a lot of it was controlling of the narrative, and that's what I lay into heavily in my book, like coming up around my dad and his friends, what they were like, and then as a young kid in the beginnings of this culture, what motivated me and the moves I made to try to get to a point where we could, and it worked out in some regards better than I expected.
You think? Well, yeah, nah.
It would last for so long and still have resonance like this is a real special thing.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, not just last, but magnify. Hip hop started as an obscure type of, all right, this is a localized thing, to being the #1 genre in all of music for quite some time now.
Quite some time.
What I was saying about the, breakdancing is bigger now. Graffiti went from vandalism to art museums. It's just like...
So in 2023, there was an event. There's a hip hop museum that's happening in New York, but then there's another one in DC. They don't have a building, but they've been giving people like awards and stuff.
Sure.
And I can't remember the difference in the way they're actually named. But anyway, there's a video that just popped up from the event in 23. And I get this award, and other people from the cast, Wildstyle, Cold Crush, fantastic, these guys were there. And one of the things that I get up on the dais as I'm getting this award, and I'm saying how incredible this is, I never thought this shit would be this dominant for this long. And then I go, and later this year, at the next Olympics in Paris, breakdancing is going to be featured. Now, that was a big thing that the guys in the Rocksteady crew and them were talking about.
Sure.
Which is a no-brainer. That's right. Breakdancing should be in the Olympics. It's along with gymnastics and other stuff.
Sure.
And I'm thinking about making it over to Paris to be there. Like, this is amazing. Amazing. But then I'm glad I didn't, because it didn't go as good as we would have liked.
Yeah.
Because some goofy chick from Australia somehow gets in the mix, and she's doing these kangaroo moves, which was the biggest meme coming from the Olympics, was this goofy chick doing just bananas stupid stuff with the kangaroo, when there's kids that breakdance doing stuff that will just literally have your jaw on the floor.
Yeah.
So it was some
She got the story.
in a weird way. It's a deeper story, because I knew a cat that was working on a documentary on it, and he broke down. He said, and this is even ahead, he said, Fab, it might not go the way we want, because these people got it into the Olympics and they don't really know nothing. And I'm like, huh? Still, I was trying to get to Paris.
Sure.
But when I saw the clips of this goofy chick doing the kangaroo and the shit, and everybody was like, what the fuck? It became like a laughing stock moment. That sadly was the shine that some incredible breakers that do next level moves now should have gotten.
Sure.
So sometimes things don't go as well as you'd like. I guess it's a weird point. But we still got there. We got to the Olympics, but it didn't work out perfectly.
Right.
So anyway, I don't know. I didn't have that point totally formulated. This weird shit sometimes happens. We like breakers at the Olympics, but who was this chick doing this goofy shit?
It became such an embarrassing moment for the culture, because it was like there was a lot of things you could have focused on, but she stole the thunder by being so over the toply ridiculous. Like over the top ridiculous. She should have been there.
I was so mad. Not at all.
So,
but when you get the whole backstory on how the entity that, I think it was the ballroom dance, it was something so when you were like, huh? It like, is that how it worked?
Yeah.
And anyway, it was farcical.
it was very farcical.
Yeah.
And
But still.
but you know, not to take away from the culture, you know, Fat Five Freddy, it's been a honor.
It's fun talking to you too.
Honor and a pleasure to get all of this amazing information out of you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
I can't wait for part 2. Now we know it's in. You don't put it in the ether, so now it's going to matriculate.
I would love to. Listen, I got a gang more stories. It was crazy shit that happened from then until now. Like I said, early into your MTV Raps happening.
Sure.
We kind of wrap it up, but there's a whole lot of fly things that went down. I'd love to share.
Can't wait.
And it's fun.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely.
Man. Yes,
thank you.
Can't wait to check this out online.
Yeah, man. So you've seen it here. We have, Magz FM, and I have a platform called the Unseenscene Project.
Okay.
Which I
slide me them links, baby, so I can check y'all out.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna leave you with this one thing, and we're out of here. I have a mantra. I wonder what you think about it. It's called "Music is Medicine."
Ooh, that's 100% agree. That's a
Do
great.
you agree?
Totally, it definitely is medicine.
Yeah.
Along with many other things, but it definitely is, and some powerful medicine too.
Fair. I think the world needs more of it now than ever.
Boy, I tell you, yes indeed, you are so right. You are so right.